It was about balance. You had people that worked in that local mill manufacturing site who were able to send their children, young men and women, off to colleges in great places like the University of Pittsburgh, who went on to become doctors, dentists, lawyers, and just about everything on the planet. And it seems to me now that the system that was once balanced is upside down. Oakland, Pitt, so important, giving your child that education. My niece graduated from there, and I tell her all the time, out of the large numbers of my family, be so proud that you were able to achieve that. But it was because of former family members and current family members who put in the sweat equity to give her that opportunity, and now we would like her to simply pass that gift on to her children, grandchildren, members of our family, and the community. What do we need to do, Jerry, to get back to that balance that made us who we are, that ability to work hard, but to be able to pay it forward and give gifts to our children and grandchildren to give them a better opportunity, like going to the University of Pittsburgh? How do we make that work?
Yeah, it's a good question, and one that has sort of we've lost our way a little bit on that question of the middle class and paying it forward and paying it back. This country, in the last 20, 25 years have been through a lot. Look at the recession in 2008. And then, you have the pandemic of recent years. And so, we have middle class and has been walloped by economic disasters. And that has not made things easy for folks. It's not made things easy for parents to pay for their kids' college education. It's not made things easy for our high schoolers to get scholarships to go to undergraduate school and college and other places like that. And it's made it hard for, the middle class to hold on to the jobs that they are so near and dear to their heart, including, steel mills and other such things here in Western Pennsylvania. So, things have been hard and difficult, and I want to recognize that aspect of it. But that being said, I think there's a lot that can be done. The federal government has sort of lost its way in terms of providing resources and subsidies for local communities over the years, and I think that's an important part of this. The other part of it is encouraging investment in our communities, private investment in our communities. We need to encourage that, and you can use government subsidies to do that, but providing the job opportunities that will then, trickle down to families, not only in the middle class, but in the lower class as well. That's really important stuff. We lost our way on that. And I think also, the value of education, realizing that, education is expensive today, and it shouldn't be as expensive as it is. I'm at the University of Pittsburgh, but I deal with the undergraduate students and graduate students all the time, and the cost of schooling is always on their mind, and that's really hard and difficult. So we got to find ways to be able to provide an affordable education for everybody so that they can go to college, and then they could then produce for their own families in the future. And I think that's a really important part of it: education, education, education. And the more we talk about it, the more I think we're going to move forward and make some progress in this area.
Education is knowledge, and it's truly one of the greatest gifts. But when I go back to my childhood and those early informative years as far as making the transition, what I remembered so much about the manufacturing sector, a young man or woman could get a summer job or work part-time and make an incredible wage that would put a big dent into that college education. We've got to find a way to give these students an opportunity to earn money when they're not in school during those summer months and maybe different times throughout the year, or even a little moonlighting to be able to help them incur the expense that it takes, because in the long run, it's the gift that really keeps on giving, and to be able to have that opportunity is priceless. So we can help them in other ways raise money so they'll have the money to be able to get the education.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I remember when I was, a youngster, and I used to go to church camps, and I used to do some work on the side, landscaping, for example. Those were great experiences for me as a young person. And, I think we've sort of lost our way in providing those opportunities. And, technology has a lot to do with it, Rob. As you know, young people have access to the internet and access to all kinds of different things that take their, focus away from the important parts of summer jobs and summer opportunities. And I think, that is something that we have to deal with. But how can we use, technology to actually bring people back into the fold and get them summer jobs, get them the employment they need and the skill sets they need to go out there into the real world and do the work that they need to do. And I think, look, Pittsburgh is making a lot of progress on this end of things, no doubt about it. It's sort of a leader on the tech and med side. And to the extent that we can get those organizations and those companies throughout the University of Pittsburgh and throughout the city of Pittsburgh to be able to provide those resources for young folks across the region, that's going to be really important, because at the end of the day, Rob, as you know, the youngsters, the next generation, they're the leaders of this country, and we need to make sure we're doing all we can to put them in the best position possible.
Jerry, Dickinson, University of Pittsburgh, a couple of more moments, Vice Dean of Pitt Law School. So let me just tell you why there's always hope. I get down thinking sometimes we've lost our way. Are my children actually understanding what's happening in America? Do they care enough about America? And then I hear a Wes Moore speak or Josh Shapiro speak, or years ago when I had a chance to interview Condoleezza Rice. So there is hope. I see it. And I'm just mentioning a few names that come to mind. But what do we do as parents or grandparents or just mentors to get young people, you're around them every day, the biggest and brightest, to pay attention to politics and be encouraged about how their vote does matter? And I must tell you, something has happened, because I have a 22-year-old and a 25-year-old who all of a sudden have been asking me about this presidential race. And to me, that is a sure sign of hope, Jerry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, elected leaders and leaders across the country, they're sort of in a unique position and have a unique responsibility to be sort of models for civility. But parents, as you note, also have, I think, a unique responsibility to be models for civility, models for hope, models for leadership. And I think that sort of aspect helps to get us across the divides that we're currently dealing with. And, we can focus on addressing solutions that address common concerns, and we need to show our children and our younger generations empathy and what that means about caring for someone else and caring for our community. And I think that's really important. And I think when you get that message across, and all of a sudden you see this model of civility where parents are engaging in their communities, the kids see that. My daughter sees me engage with the community all the time. The students at the University of Pittsburgh sees me engaged with the community all the time. And by working, I think, collaboratively, right, to address these issues like healthcare, infrastructure, job creation, that is going to have, I think, an influential effect on this next generation. And they're ready. They've been through a lot, the pandemic and a number of other things. They're ready to sort of move on to the next stage and really become leaders of this country. And, at the end of the day, that's what we need to do. Role models, models of civility. And I think, I'm hopeful. There's no doubt about it. I'm an idealist in that sense. And I think we're going to be on the right track.
So I was looking at a photo of Jack Kennedy earlier tonight. It just popped up on my social media platform. And I was thinking about then and the hope, and ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Do you think young people understand it's more about what you can do as opposed to what your country, meaning your government, can do for you? I think in recent generations, and maybe it's a fault of we baby boomers, because we didn't teach them enough about going out and making that system work for you, but also paying it back by casting your vote and doing your due diligence when it comes to being a patriot and respecting our democracy and constitution. Because we have been a society in recent years, and especially during the pandemic, it was instant gratification. Please, please, please. And there were people in need, but we have to find a way to carve out a path to make it a better place for us and our families, and more importantly, help our country grow and that government wheel keep moving forward for future generations. So what can we do to help our country more as opposed to asking for our country to help us?
Yeah, I totally agree. That is the question. What can you or we or young people do for their country? Not necessarily always asking what their country can do for them. And I think, look, the younger generation, they're going to have a critical role in shaping a sort of more inclusive, more understanding, more connected future. And I think young people often are going, and they often do, they bring sort of fresh perspectives on openness and dialogue and change and all those things, and that's so valuable. And so they are growing up, I say, right now in an increasingly diverse and interconnected world, I think, which gives them a unique ability to bridge the divides, and that's for the future. And so, for us as adults, as parents, we need to be able to flourish and facilitate and nourish that sort of activity and that engagement. And I think by staying engaged, advocating for respectful discourse, number one, and then number two, finding creative ways to address common challenges, I think young people are going to be a powerful force for unity in this country moving forward. And to the extent that you and I and my wife and many others can be there to help facilitate and encourage them on doing this, I think that's really important. And as you mentioned, I'm around young people all the time, undergraduates, graduate students, law students, and they are smart, they're eager, they're ready to go. And I think that's what really makes me excited about the future, and the future for my daughters who are 6 and 4, that the future is in the hands of this generation, and I think they're going to be okay. But again, noting that they need to be understanding of inclusiveness, understanding connected to the future, but also realizing that they need to be empathetic. All right. And at the same time, reach across the aisle, reach across the divide, because there's no other way to do it. We can't move forward as a country. We never have been able to move forward as a country under divisiveness. And I think, we're in a good position to do that. So
listen, from healthcare workers who I think are truly the backbone of this country to educators, especially, the one thing that concerns me, Jerry, and we'll end on this note, you being a teacher, professors, educators, public education, of course, is that bridge to the future. What can we do to make young people understand becoming a teacher has never been more important, and they are needed now more than ever? And when you see these numbers of public education, meaning teachers, going down every year, that's something that's very alarming to me. As important as that steel worker or that manufacturer, that doctor, that lawyer, that dentist, teachers are mightily important. How do we engage them in wanting to be teachers and to be involved in education?
yeah, I mean, civic engagement is very important. My two daughters are growing up in a household with a law professor. My wife is a teacher for the deaf at the Paul School for the Deaf. And so, my wife's been a teacher for many years, and she recognizes the importance of being a role model and a leader for civics, and understanding that, our young, population need to know and understand that in order for our country to come together in a cohesive way, education is very important. But in order to have education, we have to have teachers. And that does, at the end of the day, come down to providing the resources for educating future teachers, right? And providing the kind of support and salary and compensation that is going to reward them for their work. And over the years, we found that teachers, their salaries have stagnated, and in many ways, that's not a good thing. And then the pandemic also had a major effect on teachers. The anxiety and the stress that was imposed on them during that very difficult time period has made many leave the profession. And I think we're still dealing with that, and we're still growing. And so there's a lot that needs to be done. But I think understanding that the future of our country not only is about educating our students about civics, but also having the teachers and the role models there available to help them and guide them into this future. Because look, the future is bright. I can say this, I'm idealistic and I'm optimistic. The future is bright for this country. We've been through dark times. We've always come out on the other end a better country. And I'm sure that's going to happen here as well.
Vice Dean, Pitt Law School, Jerry Dickinson, always informative. Thank you for your time. Some of the things that are side notes of these issues and what matters most, and some things for people to think about as they get ready to cast their vote in this historic election. Well done. Thank you for your time tonight, okay?
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate it.